Hi everyone, my name is Jill Powell and this is my beautiful daughter Brooklyn, and we are going to be teaching you today the brand new Temecula Dance Company makeup look. So first things first, I want to make sure you have all the products in front of you as well as all of your brushes. So let's go over the brushes that you will need for this look. Starting with the eyeshadow brushes, you will need some sort of blending brush. I love something like this shape, where you have something that's fluffy and a little bit rounded, but not too big. You'll also need an eyeshadow shader brush, something along this line. I do love something, again, a little bit of fluff to it, but something that can apply shadows really nicely. You'll need some sort of like a detailed brush, so something where you can apply like a pencil brush. You can even use a smudge brush, so something along this shape, but the bristles need to be shorter and a little bit more dense so you have some control. You will also need an angled brush, a flat concealer brush, so something synthetic. I really want it to be sort of flat, and then I love this rounded shape at the end. That's gonna really help to create the look. You will also need a concealer brush. So this one's a unique one, but you can also use the flat concealer brush that I showed you in the last step, or any sort of concealer brush that you can apply your concealer with. Also a foundation brush. This one's rounded. You can also use something flat, but something to apply your liquid foundation with. An angled contour brush. So this is like an angled blush brush. I'm gonna use it for contour. If you don't have an angle, just make sure it's something a little bit smaller, but still with a fluff to it that you can apply contour in a kind of more specific area. A blush brush. Again, I love an angle. Does not have to be an angle, but a small fluffy blush brush. A powder brush. So something along these lines that you can apply powder with. And then you need a highlighter brush. So something that is a little bit smaller, but also has a fluff to it. Just something where you can, again, apply highlighter in a specific area that's not too dense. It needs to be a little bit longer bristles so that has a fluff to it. So those are the brushes that you need. Now let me show you the products that you need. Okay, so then the skincare that you're gonna need. So whatever you apply, whether it's like a hydrating serum, moisturizer, definitely some sort of a lip balm or chapstick. You will want a eyeshadow primer, something like this. You will need an eyebrow pencil, okay? Also our amazing eyeshadow palettes. A concealer, any type of concealer. I prefer something full coverage. Our face palette. You will need lashes. We are using Ardell Studio Effect Wispies lashes, as well as a lash glue, scissors, and optional is tweezers and a lash placement tool. You will also need a black liquid eyeliner, mascara, our amazing lipstick duo, any sort of a foundation that works for your daughter's skin, a powder foundation, and optional is a finishing setting spray. The first step I would love for you to do is to prep your daughter's skin. So whether that is chapstick, a lip moisturizer, some sort of hydrating serum, moisturizer. I like to do this first because then it gives it time to set in. So if they have chapped lips, then their lips can really absorb the moisture. The skincare can really absorb into the skin before your makeup. So I'm just applying a hydrating serum all over so that her skin is nice and prepped. The next step, we're gonna start with eyebrows. So go ahead and grab your eyebrow pencil, and I'm just gonna pin back Brooklyn's hair. So you're gonna take your eyebrow pencil and you wanna start, first I always brush the brows kind of up to create their shape. And then we're gonna start and really focus at the base of the inner part of the brow. You're gonna basically kind of draw like a soft line. Then I want you to push the product up naturally into their brows at the beginning so that you create just a little bit of shadow behind there, creating a soft but defined brow. Once you've done that, go ahead and brush it through. Most brow pencils have a little brush on the other end. If you don't, you can just use a spoolie or a brow brush, something to kind of push it through so that it softens it. Then I want you to go ahead and define the arch of the brow on the top. This will just really help to create good facial expressions that are seen on stage. If there's any other sparse areas, you may fill them in now and then always finish by brushing through. If your daughter has really kind of unruly or curly brows, you may also use a clear brow gel to set everything in place and keep them staying put throughout the performances. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. Again, starting at the base, pushing the product up, always brushing through. And then you're going to go ahead and continue with the top of the arch. Continue with the top of the arch and down through the tail. And again, brush everything through. And if there's any extra sparse areas, you may fill them in now. Brows are complete. Okay, moving on to the eyeshadow step, we're going to go ahead and take our eyeshadow primer and apply it all over the lid. You are going to go from the lash line all the way up to the brows. This is Urban Decay Primer Potion. You can also use any primer. MAC Paint Pot works really well. Too Faced Shadow Insurance, pretty much any eyeshadow primer. If you have a deeper skin tone, I do suggest using a full coverage, kind of lighter shade, something in the medium skin tone shade, and that will help to make the shadows really pop on your deeper skin tone. So you will apply that all over from all the way at your lash line up to your brows. Then we're going to take our eyeshadow blending brush and our palette, and we're going to use the top right shade, which is light brown. We're going to grab a little bit of product on the brush, and starting in the outer corner of the eye, we are going to sketch out a rainbow shape and use a windshield wiper motion going back and forth with a rounded rainbow shape. This is defining the crease, and it's going to really create the backdrop for our eyeshadow look. You want to make sure this is nice and blended, so you'll see how many times I'm going back and forth to get that shape. You also want to make sure that this color really stands out, so you may need to do a second layer, blending each layer really, really well. So again, starting on the outer part of the eye, going into the crease in a rainbow shape, back and forth motions, and really making sure it's blended. We're going to repeat that step on the other eye. Starting in the outer part of the eye, sketching out a rainbow shape, coming all the way in, windshield wiper motions, going back and forth. Really blending that out. Again, you want to make sure that this color really pops on the skin. So if you need to do a second layer, go ahead and do that. When your daughter opens her eyes, this color should be visible above the crease just a little bit, so you want to make sure that you can see it. The next step, I want you to take a flat shader brush with the top left color, this vanilla kind of cream tone, and we are going to get some eyeshadow on that, and we are going to do your brow highlight. So starting in the arch of the brow, applying that cream color underneath the brow and making that stand out. So we're gonna go just a little bit in the inside, focusing on the arch and bringing it to the tail. This should meet where the light brown color went. So these two colors should meet. So again, starting in the arch, shading it outward and shading it inward, just under the brow to make it pop. If you need to, you can take a clean blending brush and blend the top edge of the brown into the vanilla color to make sure that that edge is really nice and blended. The next shade we're going to use is in the bottom right-hand corner of the palette. It's the burgundy shade, and you can use a domed brush or even a really pointy crease brush. And we are going to pick up that burgundy shade. And this color is very, very dark, so you want to be very careful with this. We're going to start on the outer portion of the lid. I want you to drop off that color and kind of press it in. We're starting at the lash line in the outer corner of the eye, filling in the outer 1/3 of the eyelid. So the outer 1/3 of the eyelid up to the lash line, and then we're going to slowly create kind of like a C shape at the base of where your light brown crease color is. And in this crease, you're going to bring the top of the crease to about halfway over. So the bottom of this color only goes to 1/3, but the top of this color is going to go to about halfway over. Again, if you want to use a pointed crease brush, you can also do that. It'll just give you a little bit more blending. But if not, just use your domed brush and make sure that you blend that color at the base of the crease to about halfway over. So when your daughter opens her eyes, it's mainly right where her crease is. We're going to go ahead and do the other eye. Outside of the lid, drop that color off to about 1/3 of the way on the lid. Color that outside lid in, and then slowly create the base of the crease till about halfway over on the top. So 1/3 on the bottom, halfway on the top. I'm going to take my pointed blending brush and just blend it so that I get a nice strong crease. For the next step, I want you to grab your flat concealer brush and your full coverage concealer. We are going to take a little bit of concealer, apply it to the back of your hand, and take your concealer and just grab product on one side of your concealer brush. So it should look like that. You do want a good amount of product because we're going to use this to cut the crease. So have your daughter close her eyes, and we are going to take and use the edge of your brush, and we are going to press and place the concealer on the inner 2/3 of the lid, cutting just below where you did the burgundy crease. And I'm basically just patting to create a half moon shape. We're going to fill in the lid with concealer. But I want this top edge to be a nice, crisp line. So keep pressing and placing concealer until you get that perfectly crisp line. Then we are going to pat it down and just softly blend the edge so that you don't have too harsh of an edge on the outer third. You're going to basically meet where that burgundy shade is, but I want the top edge of this entire concealer to be really strong and sharp. I'm going to repeat it on the other side. So again, starting in the inner part of the lid, you are going to press and kind of erase the lid so that you have a very strong cut crease just below where the burgundy comes, halfway over on the top. And again, you want that line to be extremely crisp. So if it's not crisp, you may need to grab more concealer. Then you're gonna fill in the lid, come to meet the burgundy, and I'm just gonna tap my finger on that so that you have a soft edge. So hard edge on the top and soft edge on the lid. So next I want you to take your flat shader brush that you used for the brow highlight color, and we're gonna go in with that same cream vanilla color. Grab a lot of product on your brush, tap off any extra if you need, and where you placed your concealer, we are just going to press and pat the color on the lid to create a nice, strong, bright lid. You wanna cover the whole lid area that you did the concealer, and take the cream over to meet the burgundy shade on the outside. I'm gonna repeat on the other side. So you're gonna take your brush and press and get a lot of pigment on the lid, all the way up to that crease, keeping that crease line really strong. I want that to be a sharp, sharp line. So again, on the lid till about halfway on the top and about 2/3 the way on the bottom. So this is gonna be kind of like a half moon shape, but towards the edge, it kind of fades into the burgundy. Our next step, you can take your smudge brush or your small pencil brush, and we're gonna be using the bottom left-hand shade. This is the dark brown, a matte dark brown. Grab some color, have your daughter close her eyes, and this is going to be on the outside of the lid, right along the lash line. I want you to apply this color to halfway over. It's almost like a thick eyeliner on the outside half at the lash line. And repeat the step on the other side. So at the lash line till about halfway over, getting that dark brown nice and strong. So the brush that you just used, I want you to go ahead and clean it off. If you don't have brush cleaner, you can just clean it off on a tissue or paper towel, getting all the extra product off of it, because we're gonna go in with a lighter shade, and we don't want it to look too dark. So I'm just gonna clean off all my extra product on my brush. And we're gonna grab the face palette. And in the face palette, this top center shade, it's basically like a shimmery kind of soft blushy pink. We are gonna grab a little bit of product, and just like we did the dark brown, we are gonna do this shimmery color on the inner half of the lash line, like a thicker eyeliner, just so we get a little bit of a highlight right along that lash line. It's gonna really make it pop. This color should not be the entire lid. I want everything else matte up to the crease, so only on the inner half at the lash line is this shimmer. You are gonna come and you're gonna meet the brown in the center so that those two colors fade into each other. Continuing with the same brush and the face palette, we're gonna go in with an inner corner highlight. So we are going to use this pearl shade for the inner corner highlight. Go ahead and look up. We're gonna create a V on the inner part of your daughter's eyes and the bottom lash line. So this is gonna go from the inner corner all the way over, and this is about 1/3 over on the bottom, making sure that that inner corner is nice and bright. If your daughter has deeper skin tones, you may use the gold on the left-hand side because this color might be more flattering to her skin tone. We're gonna go back with our eyeshadow palette now and our angle brush, and we're gonna do a bottom eyeliner. We're gonna take this top right shade, which is a light brown. If you have medium to deep skin tones, you may need to use the darker brown, and that's okay. So if it needs to show up on your skin tone, please use this darker brown. We're gonna get a little bit of product on our angle brush, have your daughter look up. We're gonna go underneath the lashes and sketch out a little bit of a bottom shaded eyeliner along the bottom lash line, 2/3 the way over. So we're gonna go from the outside and we're gonna meet where we just did that inner highlight, and it should be about 2/3 the way over, so that when your daughter looks straight, it should be right at the inner part of her iris. Next, I want you to take your eyeliner pen, and the best tip I can give you is when you're doing eyeliner on somebody else with a pen, instead of drawing like you normally would when you're using a writing utensil, turn it to the side and you're gonna kind of work horizontally. So I'm gonna take, and you're gonna start with the tip facing outward, and you're gonna use that as the edge. So you always want to use that as the edge. Start by drawing a really thin line right at the lash line. I'm gonna turn it around when I go in the inner corner. And you just kind of want to draw little lines and connect them. Very gentle touch, really, really light touch. And we want this to be one thin line all the way across. And then I'm going to have you go in and thicken the outer part of the eyeliner so that you almost have like a double layer. And it's going to be about to halfway. So you're going to go from thin, and then about halfway, it's going to start gradually getting bigger towards the outer corner. So it should look like that. Doing the other side, I'm going to start in the center. It's a little bit easier for me. Sketch out the outer part of the eyeliner. Now I'm going to come to the inner corner. Sometimes I lift slightly just to make it nice and taut. It kind of helps create a really sharp line. And then I'm going to add a second layer to the outside half, making that liner a little bit thicker, starting at the center and coming outward. The end of the eyeliner should stop right about the edge of the lid, but you don't want to cut it too short. Now we're going to apply mascara to the top and bottom lashes. So go ahead and have your daughter look down. I usually pull up just slightly. And we're just going to get a really sheer layer of mascara. We are wearing lashes, so you don't need to put a ton of mascara on. For our CIP girls that do not wear lashes, please put a couple coats of mascara on so that their lashes stand out. And then we're going to have your daughter just slightly look up, and I tilt their chin back so that their lashes don't touch. And then I like to put the wand vertically and kind of dance along these bottom lashes. Get some product on there and then kind of just style them so that you don't have any clumps. If your daughter has really long bottom lashes, you may just need to do the base of the lash and not the tip of the lash on the bottom. But we do want a little bit of definition. This just helps make that bottom eyeliner really stand out as well. Okay, now it's time for lashes. So you are going to take your lashes, open them up. Remember, these are Studio Effect Wispies by Ardell. And I like to take the lashes out by placing my index finger on the lash and just doing a slight roll. This will help to not misshape the lashes. If you grab the edge of the lash and pull, you can create a little bit of fraying or misshaping. So press and just kind of do a little roll. The next thing I want you to do is once you have your lash detached from the container, I want you to check the lash band, and if there's any residual glue, I want you to gently get rid of it. So you can just peel it off. It's just the glue to hold it into the container. It's not the glue for your eye. So you just want to make sure that those are all off because you don't want that to create any kind of chunkiness or anything. The way that the lashes are in the container, there is a left and a right lash. So the inner corners are always a little bit shorter, and that's a great way to tell. You want to measure the lashes on your daughter's eye, so have her look down. Don't have her close because when you close your eye constricts and then the sizing is going to be off. So have her look down, and where her first longest natural lash starts, so Brooklyn's is about right here, that's where I'm going to place the first inner corner of the lash to measure. So we're just going to set it right on her lash line, and I'm going to measure, kind of placing it. Brooklyn needs to cut off about 3 knots. So I check how many knots. That way when I take it off, I know how much to cut off. So we're going to cut off 3 knots because if you see when she looks straight, this hangs over the edge, and we want to make sure that it stops right at the outer corner of her lashes. So I'm going to cut off 3 knots, and that is her sizing. So Brooklyn is 3 knots. I'm going to take my scissors. I'm going to count the 3 knots, and then I'm going to trim the lash right there. So taking it, so I count 1, 2, 3 knots, and I'm going to trim the lash. You always trim from the outside. So remember, the inner corner is a little bit shorter. You want to trim the lash from the outside, and then this is what I'm going to be applying on her eye. One trick that I like to do, since this lash band is very straight, is to take my lash and touch the ends together, creating a half circle. Sometimes I'll even push the band a little bit, and basically you can kind of stick it to your finger, and this will help to bend the lash and prevent it from lifting, so that when you let go, it's more of a rounded shape. So my lashes are nice and trimmed. We're going to take our lash glue. There's a few different types of lash glue. If you have the duo that's in the squeeze tube, this one takes about a minute to set. So you want to apply a thin layer, and sometimes it's easier to put it on the back of your hand because you don't want it to squirt out and bubble. And then I'll even use like the edge of the duo, and you can apply it to your lash band so that way it's just a little bit more controlled. If you trust yourself, you can try to squeeze a little bubble from your duo and then drag it along. You want to make sure that you have plenty of lash glue and really focusing on having extra at the inner and outer corners because this is where it might want to lift. Okay, so now that my glue is on the lash band, I'm going to let it set for about a minute. You want to make sure that the glue is nice and tacky and it doesn't slide around. If you have the glue that is in the wand, that one sets really quickly. That is a quick set, so you do not need to wait. So it's been about a little over a minute, and I'm going to have Brooklyn look down. I'm going to take the lash, and I want to see the bottom edge of the lash. This will really help. You're going to come in from the top, kind of at an angle. I want you to set the center of the lash on her lashes. Make sure it's centered. Then I'm going to take the outside of the lash and I'm going to grab as far out as I can on the lash and press it in. I'm going to have her look out to me to flatten that inner part of the eye. I'm going to grab the inner part and press it in. If you want to, you can use a lash tool to help you. Grab the lash and really make sure that it's on there and as close to the lash line as possible. This sometimes is easier for people. And then we just want to make sure that they're really kind of pushed up and right next to the lash. Okay, so repeating on the other side. Remember, we are bending the lash, touching the ends together, making sure that it's nice and curved. We are going to put some glue. If you want to squeeze it from the tip and run it along, or you can put it on the back of your hand. We're going to apply the glue along the edge of the lash band. Really making sure we have enough product on the inner and outer corners. If you have the quick set glue, you can go right in once you apply that glue and put it onto the lash line. If you have this one, you'll need to wait about 1 minute to 2 minutes for it to get tacky. Sometimes while it's waiting, I'll continue to bend it and kind of roll it back and forth to make sure that it's nice and soft and a pliable band. And remember, when we apply, we want to go in kind of from the top angle, almost at like a 45-degree angle, but that you can see the edge of the lash band. That will really, really help you to place it where it needs to go. I grab the inner and the outer part of the lash, and so that I can really have a lot of control. I sometimes will apply my pinkies to her face for, again, extra control. We're going to set it on the center of the lash first. Then we're going to take the outside and press it in. Have your daughter look out to flatten that inner corner. Grab the inner part of the lash and press it in. And you want to basically press it so it goes right onto the lash line. And if you need to, you can take, and you always want to press in from the edge of the lashes. You don't want to squeeze, because sometimes you can squeeze a little bit of skin between and it's going to create separation. Just make sure your lashes are visible and kind of pointed upwards. So sometimes I give a little extra push. Make sure that they're nice and secure. And then we are going to let those set. Now that we've completed eyes, go ahead and take a makeup wipe and clean off any extra fallout that your daughter might have under her eyes. You just want to make sure that it's nice and clean. Don't erase the inner corner highlight, but you do want to make sure that you don't have any fallout. If any of your shadows fall below like the line of the outside of your eye, basically if you were to take a brush and line it up from the outer part of your nose to the outer part of your brow, you don't want any shadows to fall below that line. So if they do, if your shadows are coming down here, you want to wipe them off. So again, the line on this side from the outer part of your nose to the outer part of your brow, that is the line that you do not want any shadows going below. So if you have shadows on this outer corner, you can go ahead and erase them. Make sure that that's nice and clean so we can start our complexion. Okay, so go ahead and grab whatever foundation you have, and you can grab your foundation brush, and you're gonna apply foundation all over the face. And remember, we've already prepped the skin. If you need to use a primer, you may use that in the skincare prep step, or even right now. I personally don't always use a primer because I use longer wearing foundation, so they stay. But we are gonna apply foundation all over. Nose, forehead, chin, cheeks, and just make sure that it's really blended. We're just going to apply everything so we get a nice, even complexion. If you need to blend a little bit down on the neck, if the neck's a different color, you may do so. I sometimes just take whatever's left on my brush and just bring it down a little bit. I want to make sure that everything is nice and even. If you have a beauty blender, you want to go ahead and dampen it so that it doubles in size, and you can use that to press in foundation or even apply foundation if you want to. Not necessary, but definitely an option for a step. Make sure that everything is nice and even. Now I want you to take your face palette and your contour brush. So this one is an angled blush brush, and we're gonna open the palette. The left-hand side contour color is a little bit lighter, and the center one is a little bit deeper. If you have light to medium skin tones, you want to start with this one, okay? This is probably going to be your color. If you have deeper skin tones, the center one is going to be your color. You may or may not need it if you have super deep skin tones, but we're gonna grab some pigment onto the brush, and starting at the center of the ear, you wanna basically place your brush right at the center of the ear. It's from the center to the top of the ear. You're gonna place your brush right there, and we are gonna sweep inward. And you want to make sure that your contour goes basically above the line from the center of the ear to the outer corner of the mouth. So if you were to draw a line or have a brush right here, your contour line should be above there. So I'm basically taking this, sweeping it inward, and as I sweep inward, I'm lifting my brush off the face so that I get a really soft diffusion. You cannot tell where this contour starts and stops. It's just creating a little bit of cheekbone here. I'm gonna do the same thing with the other side. Again, center of the ear, sweeping down towards the corner of the mouth, but you wanna make sure that nothing falls below that line, okay? So it needs to be that line and above. You can also feel for the cheekbone, and that's another placement. So grab some product. You're gonna place your brush at the center of the ear, and you are gonna lift as you finish. So we're sweeping, always starting at the center of the ear and lifting, because you want this edge to be nice and soft. So now that we have the cheeks contoured, have a little bit of definition to the cheeks, we are going to take that same color and we are going to go right along the top hairline to give a little bit of color on the forehead, just along the hairline. We are also going to put a tiny bit of color on the chin. I'm doing very light touch, and it's whatever's left on my brush. And then I'm going to bring some down the bridge of my nose, the bridge of her nose, I should say. So when you think about it, it's almost like a heart shape on the face. So you're going to have the cheeks, a little bit of the chin, center of the nose. Okay, now that we're done with contour, we're gonna go ahead and apply blush. Blush is the bottom right-hand corner. This blush is very, very strong in pigment, so all you need is basically one tap into the product. We're gonna have your daughter smile to create her apples of her cheek. We are going to softly blend the blush onto the apples, creating a nice rounded shape, and then we are gonna softly sweep into the contour, but not all the way. So you're gonna have blush fading into contour. And if you think about the shape, it's almost like a Nike swoosh. We do not wanna have a strong line. You want a little bit more rounded shape here, and then softening into that contour, and the end of the Nike swoosh is your contour. We're gonna go ahead, get a little bit more on her apple. Again, one tap into the blush. For the other side, have her smile. Apples of the cheek. And you see I'm softly, barely touching, softly blending into the contour. And again, this color is very strong, so one tap is all you need. Okay, so now I want you to take your powder foundation and your powder brush. And if you've noticed, we applied all of your contour and blush on top of your foundation, and that's so that color really, really sticks and stays. So we're gonna grab your powder foundation, and we are gonna start on the inner part of the nose and softening the edge of the blush right there. Doing the same on the other side. Basically going to soften that blush. And I know we haven't done concealer yet. We're gonna do that at the end just to really make the eyes pop. We're gonna apply the powder foundation to the center of the forehead. You don't need to go over where that contour was because that one is already set with the powder. And then we are gonna go along the base of the contour and the base of the blush to the chin, all along the chin. And then same thing, the base of the contour, base of the blush. So anywhere where you don't have any color placed from your face palette, we are going to place your powder foundation. Okay, next we're gonna use our concealer brush, and it's optional if you have a beauty blender, you can also use this. We are gonna apply a little bit of concealer, go ahead and look up, to just the inner corner of the eye on both sides. This is gonna help to brighten any dark circles. We're gonna go underneath where we have that highlighter, and then I'm also gonna have you apply a little bit of a line on the outside of the eye, going upward. This is just gonna help to really make your shadows pop. And so now that you have the concealer placed, you can take your concealer brush, and I want you just doing small tapping motions and pressing this in under the eye. You can kind of come towards the inner part of the bridge of the nose. Again, don't go over the highlight that you've already created. And then on the outside, we're just gonna keep this nice, strict line. And then you can even use your finger to press it in. Or if you have a beauty blender, you may also use your beauty blender. This is just gonna create nice brightness under the eyes. And again, same thing, small little tapping motions. We are gonna basically press this concealer under the eyes. Tap, tap, tap. And then on the outer part of the eyes, we're just gonna blend. I wanna keep that line pretty strict. Use your finger or a beauty blender and just pat, pat, pat. And that's gonna blend everything in. If your daughter has redness around her nose, go ahead and apply concealer in this area around the nose. Or if there's any other blemishes that need to be covered, you may use the concealer to cover those. Our last step for the face is go ahead and take your face palette with your highlighter brush. So this is something a little bit fluffy, remember? For my light to medium skin tones, it's gonna be the top right-hand shade, which is like a pearl tone. For my medium to deep, it's gonna be the left-hand shade, which is kind of more of a goldish tone. We're gonna take a little bit of highlighter. This is a very, very strong highlighter, so a little bit's all you need. And we are going to apply it to the tops of the cheekbone, kind of where you just put that concealer. We wanna be above where the contour and the blush are. And I'm using my finger just to kind of soften that edge, but it's gonna create a beautiful glow on the cheek. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So tops of the cheekbone, softly sweep it. Make sure your edges are nice and soft. We are gonna take your index finger or middle finger. We are gonna grab the highlight that you just used. So for light to medium, the pearl. For medium to deep, the gold. We are going to go right down the center of the bridge of the nose, about just in the middle part. You're gonna apply that color, and then I want you to take a clean finger, whichever one you didn't have the color on, and just softly blend it. Keep it in a line, and this is basically just gonna create a little bit of a shine on the bridge of the nose. And if you need to add any more for that inner corner, if your concealer covered it up, you can go ahead and do that now. Our last step in our makeup look is our lips. So go ahead and grab your adorable Temecula Dance Company lip products. We're gonna start with the lip liner. And the lip liner is a twist up. Please do not sharpen it in any sharpener. The plastic will just break and you will ruin the product. The end of the pencil does have a tiny sharpener if you need it. This can sharpen the tip of the product to create a nice edge if you would like. Sometimes if you put the cap on the end, it may come out. So just warning everybody for that. So we are gonna take our lip liner pencil. We are gonna start in the Cupid's bow. And I like to create kind of like a little X. So we're gonna create an X here to get your Cupid's bow nice and perfect. Then I go down to the center and really draw out the center of the lip. And as you can see, Brooklyn just has her lips slightly parted, but she's not smiling or tugging or doing anything with her lips. She's just relaxing them. Then I'm gonna take my pinky or sometimes my pointer finger, and I'm gonna basically press right above her lip line, and this will make it so that her lips don't move. You kind of create a little bit of control this way, and you can lift and kind of maneuver the lip how you need it. I'm going to draw that outer lip liner from the outer corner up to her Cupid's bow. Same thing on the other side. So on this side, I'm going to use my pointer. It's a little bit more comfortable for me. And I'm going to draw all the way to the corners. And as you can see, she opened her mouth for me. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. Go ahead and open. And I'm going to press. And I'm going to create a nice lip line there. And then same thing on this side. So we're just lining the lips. This lip liner is not totally waterproof, so it can kiss off a little bit, but the lipstick is a long wearing lipstick. So then I'm going to have her close her lips, and if you need to adjust the shape, you can. So some places you might need to round it out a little bit more. And you want to make sure that you really see those edges going all the way to the corners. Open. Because when they do their facials, you want to see your lips connecting in the corners. You don't want to see any spaces. Okay, so now that I have that done, you can also check your symmetry. Have your daughter look all the way up. And if you look from the back, you can see the Cupid's bow and make sure that they're even. And then same thing from the bottom. So keep her head tilted back. You can look from the bottom and you can see where maybe it's a little bit uneven. Just a couple little makeup artist tricks. All right, so now we have the lip liner on. We're gonna take the lipstick color and go ahead and wipe off a little bit. There's a lot of product on here. Have your daughter open her mouth just slightly, and then we're gonna apply the lip color all over the lips right up to the edge. But your lip liner is what really created that strong, strong edge, so that should be good. We're gonna fill in the Cupid's bow and fill in the entire lip. And then before it dries, have your daughter rub their lips together. Make sure that it spreads evenly. And it's nice and consistent. And there you have the completed Temecula Dance Company makeup look. I hope you guys enjoyed the video.